Another hot topic here on Morning Kick Around. Round one of US Open Cup 2025 got underway this week. And to dig into it and the various storylines that come from the Open Cup, we are welcomed by the founder of the Cup.us, Mr. Josh Hakala. How you feeling? And thank you for joining us here on Morning Kick Around.
I'm exhausted, but that is pretty typical for we got 3 days in a row. We've got 32 games in 3 days, but I will say I'm happy for the schedule makers. They did us a solid, and apparently after this, there's never more than 16 games in a round. So that's pretty wonderful for someone who has to stay up and edit stories and try not to pass out, because the closer I get to 50, the harder these all-nighters become. So that's really what it is.
I think the most temporarily stressed people I know: Santa Claus around Christmas time, tax accountants around tax time, Josh Hakala around the U.S. Open Cup's first round. So that's what we're at. Josh, what were the take? I was scanning the results from last night. I think I caught only one amateur team knocking off a pro team. Is that right?
Yeah. 40SC, who made a little run last year from the UPSL. They beat Texoma FC, the new USL League One team. That was the only upset out of the 11 games. The rest of it, I mean, they were pretty competitive games for the most part. We had a couple of penalty kick shootouts and another extra time game, but they were pretty competitive except for the end, which, frankly, just selfishly speaking, we always joke about Open Cup after dark when those West Coast games start, and then inevitably they turn into penalty kick shootouts, and we're just all screaming for the game to end because we're all exhausted. But Ventura County FC destroyed Laguna United 7-0 to help us go to bed at a reasonable hour.
One little nugget off the field that came out was that the Open Cup announced that there is a new prize money. The prize money being announced as $1 million purse to the winners.
Yeah, I think that's a huge bonus. I think that has been one of the things that we've talked about a lot over the years. I think everybody has their own opinion of how to fix the Open Cup, and we've all got a laundry list of things. I always feel like the one thing that people always bring up, just make the prize money huge. And I'm like, well, okay, it's easier said than done. I mean, that's other people's money. But I think having $1 million purse is nice. It still dwarfs in comparison to Leagues Cup, but it's still a big step in the right direction. And I think that will change some teams' approach to this if they know that there's going to be a little bit more of a payoff in the end. I still I hate to maybe I don't want to criticize. I don't say if it's criticism, but I think I would still love to see them do wins per round, give you some money per round, rather than the team that makes it the farthest in Division III, the amateur league. You get $50,000, which is not nothing. That's a pretty nice chunk of change if you're a small club. But I feel like more teams could benefit, and you'd probably get more mileage out of that money if you, even if it was a smaller amount, having each round you win, you get another smaller chunk of change.
Yeah, it looks like we lost Robert. The hazards of doing a live program. Something went down there. But talking to Josh Hakala, Cup.us, U.S. Open Cup. A lot of attention on MLS participation the last couple of years. Josh, they kind of threw a tantrum over things last season, didn't enter all of their teams. More teams this year, still not everybody. Give me your sense of sort of MLS's involvement and how it's impacting, or how it will impact this tournament.
Well, there are 16 teams entering this year, so more teams. All the teams that didn't enter a team have MLS Next Pro teams going, and that's something. At least you get the name. Obviously, you want Inter Miami to be in the tournament. Inter Miami 2, not as great, but at least you get the name out there. Columbus Crew 2 is playing, and I think that's on tonight's schedule. So you've got all the MLS Next Pro teams, which they're not as high level, and they don't have the following as the senior teams do. But I think having 16 MLS teams, they all enter in the fourth round, which is what we used to do. And I think that's a big plus. But I think that the way that they structured this year, with having every game in the first round, all 32 games were amateur against pro, and I think that really helps get the tournament off on the right foot, because you get a little bit of David versus Goliath already. Granted, a Division III pro team versus like a high level amateur team. Is there a giant gap? Sometimes, not always, but I think we saw, unfortunately, for those who want to see Cupsets, we only had one last night, but we still got 2 more days to go. We got 13 games tonight and 8 games tomorrow.
Yeah, the 13 tonight, I imagine there's a couple of highlights. I wanted to mention Appalachian FC, NPSL team getting a chance at one of those USL League One teams you mentioned. There's a team very local to me in Northern Virginia, Virginia Dream, that'll be down in Richmond, facing off against the Richmond Kickers, who have a proud history in this tournament. One of the lower level teams that has done sort of big things in the MLS modern era, and of course that's the upshot. I know we're just starting this, Josh, but the upshot, people want to see that team surprise everybody from a lower division, win it. We had Sacramento making a final. You see any candidate? I know that's really tough to know, but do you see any candidates here in 2025?
I really want to see what the Des Moines Menace do with their, which I'm sure you'd want to talk about, all the former MLS players that they've rounded up. I think there's 7 of them that are on the roster. It'll be curious to see what kind of results they get. The Menace are traveling to Sporting Kansas City too, so we'll see. I think that's a pretty solid matchup for them right out of the gate, and we'll test some of these old legs. And of course, I hate to call it old when they're like 6 or 7 years younger than me, but it's when you're in your upper 30s, you're not a spring chicken anymore. So we'll see what they have. But
let me give everybody a sense of that Des Moines Menace team. It's actually 8 now because they added Victor Ulloa. Okay. So Victor Ulloa, Sasha Kleshtin, Dax McCarty, Ozzy Alonso, Ozzy Alonso, that's incredible. Benny Feilhaber, who's I think co-captain with Sasha. Bradley Wright Phillips, which is a fascinating one. I think they asked him last year and he said no. They finally convinced him to play. Matt Hedges, who I saw Tom Bogert report, still wants to find an MLS contract, so he's not even technically retired from his professional career. And Justin Miram, who had a long career in MLS. So, yeah, it's an interesting story.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's taken this long. I think really the only issue is the cost. I mean, it's not cheap to fly all these guys around. I hate to break it to you, but those 8 players are not, settling down probably in the Des Moines metro area. So, you got to fly them in. You got to have them train with the team. I imagine they probably fly them in the week of and get some training in and try to be ready for the game. And that's not cheap. But, the Des Moines Menace have an owner with some deep pockets, and I think they want to make some headlines. I think the problem with these USL League 2 teams and these NPSL teams that rely on college players in the summer is that they can't use them in this stage of the tournament. So the NCAA rules, you can't use them. So you have to find other avenues to put a team together. So Des Moines qualified based on their performance in last year's League 2 season, but that's not going to be the same roster they put out there. So they're trying their best to put out as high a level team as they can, and they thought, why not get some headlines while we're at it?
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, Josh. I know a lot of Des Moines picked a lot of the good recently retired players to join their Open Cup squad. If you were to pick one for a retirement 11, who would be the player? I mean, like I said, they picked up some of the good recently retired players, but if there was a player that you'd add to your Open Cup team, who would it be?
I remember when Clint Dempsey was just starting his broadcasting career, and I remember thinking back then that when he started doing that, I was like, man, he's got to still be in shape. I got to think that he's going to want to get in there and get recruited by somebody, one of those teams near him. I don't know, even there's several Texas teams you could choose. Maybe he's based in there now. But now he's I always thought that was kind of my wish. Also, just the way that his Open Cup career ended by ripping up the referee's notebook. Not a maybe great send-off for your Open Cup career, but that was one that I always wished. But I mean, the problem is you just don't know how well these players stay in shape. After their career, a lot of them, still try to get out there and run and maybe play some low, local leagues and things like that. Maybe some ringers, but. We got Bill Hamid, who was on that Virginia Dream team, the former DC United goalkeeper and Open Cup champion, and he was on that team, and they made a rule change that said when you are on a roster for a qualifying team, you can actually sign with another club. So it made it so that I think the idea was that you wanted to have it with younger players. Like if you make an impression in qualifying and then a pro team wants you, like you're cup tied, and that's unfortunate. So they changed that rule, and so now Bill Hamid it was in with Miami FC in the USL Championship.
That's fascinating. I wanted to get an update from you on the roster rules around this, because if we were going to build a recently retired team a la Sasha Kleshin and Benny Feilhaber, are there rules about the number of American players? I know that's been a thing in the past.
No, they just, I mean, you really just have to fill out a amateur declaration form. So basically to say, I'm an amateur player. And I mean, I think that they used to have a large gap between how you couldn't just like declare to be amateur and then like turn around a couple weeks later and then sign with the pro team. I remember there was a gap, there was a amount of time between those, so they didn't want people just jumping back and forth. But I don't think that is as much of an issue.
All right. Look, Diego Valeri's on television. I'd like to sign him up for my team. I think I could have that guy in my U.S. Open Cup squad. What do you think, Robert? It's pretty good shout.
Yeah, I think that would be definitely it boosts the average amateur cup talent level. And then I see Mike Thomas has a funny suggestion. Sebalatu, is he getting thrown into the mix?
Josh would know this. Does Sebalatu still hold an Open Cup record? Didn't he hold an Open Cup record at some point?
The modern era's leading scorer. So, and I think he's in coaching now. I don't know if he's still playing, but I don't know. That could be. I always thought about that for some players that I would interview for some of these stories and recaps and things, and I would say like, if you get one more goal, you'll be like the leading scorer for this or that, and like some of them kind of get up for that, but I think Latu is still the leading scorer in the modern era. So yeah,
there you go.
Well, thank you, Josh, for kind of bringing us up to speed and giving us some color on the Open Cup. First round kicked off this week, and be sure to visit thecup.us for all the coverage of the U.S. Open Cup. They've been covering it in full since 2003. Thank you so much, Josh, for sharing some time with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, guys, if you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please be the next to join the MK Ultras and keep boosting those subscription numbers. We're on a great trend. We're on the edge of 1,500, on the way to 5,000. So be the next to do so, and tell your friend to be the next after you to subscribe to what we're hoping is one of the new centers of the American soccer conversation.
Yeah, I want to encourage people as well. If you watched this morning, maybe for the first time live, and you heard us talking about the USL and the promotion and relegation plans and the USL First Division, we have a rack of videos on the channel about those very topics. We even covered potential expansion teams for the USL Championship. I think we're going to do a USL League One version of that at some point in the near future. Is a really great community building around Morning Kick Around, which I think is awesome. So yeah, definitely subscribe, be part of the show, and we'll let you know as things develop around here.
All right. Like and subscribe to the channel. Write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com, if you want to get in touch with the program for any old reason. Follow along on social media at mkickaround on the X, Instagram, and Blue Sky platforms. And if you're able to, thank you for anyone who has donated some funds, and thank you to anyone who's going to do so in the future. Visit ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. You can do a one-time $5 donation, or something larger, or something reoccurring. We are grateful for anything you can provide. Hot show today, Jason. 2 hot topics.
Incredible.
Can you believe it? Just the sizzle coming off this program is outstanding. Exciting times here in American soccer, to say the least. So we will be back again on Friday morning for more Morning Kick Round, and plenty of action to be had between now and then. So until Friday morning, everybody, please enjoy your soccer.